All right, everybody, hello to you and Jerusalem, Israel, and my listeners who are with me. Our final night together, we all have one more day here, but a lot of us are going after my show tomorrow night. It's nighttime here in Israel, of course, folks. That's why I say night. For most of you listening, it's daytime. And from the ridiculous to the sublime, that's all I could say. The banana, the $120,000 banana bought by a New York City gallery, folks. All right, I won't comment more on that. I want to get to my guest. My guest is Eric Michaelson. He is the Chief Israel Officer for the Jewish National Fund. Most of my listeners do not know what the Jewish National Fund is, so tell them.
First of all, thanks for having me, Dennis. It's great to be here. Thank you all for visiting. I'm sorry for you that you have to go back tomorrow. I get to stay, so you're invited whenever you want to come back, together with Dennis, hopefully. Jewish National Fund is investing in the present and the future of Israel and the well-being of its people. So that's a very broad statement. As some of you might know, roughly 75% of the population of Israel is currently congested in roughly 25% of the land mass. So what Jewish National Fund is doing is a lateral thrust, an investment to really branch out and bring out roughly 500,000 people to the southern frontier of Israel, which is called the Negev, and 400,000 people to the northern frontier of Israel, the Galil, the Galilee. And when you're talking about a population of about 9 million people moving, having a movement, this transformative impact of bringing roughly 1 million people to the frontier. We don't call it the periphery. It's the frontier of Israel because the people living there are the pioneers. And we depend on them to secure the future of Israel and the people of Israel. So these are pioneers. These aren't people who are needy. We need them. And that's why we call it the frontier and not the periphery. So when you're moving 1 million people to the frontier, there's a lot that has to get done. And that's why I call it a lateral thrust, Dennis.
So what exactly do you do? Do you help them financially? I don't quite follow.
What we have is, and again, that's why I call it lateral thrust, we have is an array of initiatives because bringing people from the relatively, for Israel speaking, by Israel standards, a very highly developed center, geographic center of the country, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem corridor, and everything in between, to the less developed or relatively underdeveloped frontier, you have to invest in everything. If I want young couples with their children to move to the frontier, we need to invest in medical care, infrastructure, housing, culture, employment, tourism, you name it, we have to provide for it. So obviously this isn't something that we're doing on our own. We have what we call in Jewish National Fund the $1 billion Roadmap, which is a campaign in the United States. And together with various organizations, both in the US and in Israel, and the national government Israel and local governance, the various mayors. We have 256 mayors in Israel, so a fair share of them are in the frontier. Working together with them, we are investing in all these parameters together with various partners to leverage those dollars in that investment, and it's compounded, and that's how we get to touch all these areas.
Why is it so important to move people into these areas?
So, as you all know, Israel faces many, some call it challenges, we call it opportunities. Of course, there's the Iranian issue, there's the Arab-Israel conflict, and so on. You're all versed, I'm sure. And one of the most significant opportunities or challenges that Israel is facing today is the demographic challenge. Again, that congestion. If we cannot branch out of that 25% of the landmass, you know, Dennis, we're in a pretty rough neighborhood over here. And all our neighbors are trying to encroach on Israel from every which direction, including from within, by the way. A real demographic challenge, perhaps like no other country in the world. And that's why, to put it positively again, we speak a little about the Positively Israel message. If we could bring out people to secure the borders, to secure the frontiers of Israel, and provide people with that quality of life of living in the Negev and Galilee, we'll have much more of a future and a much more promising future.
That's great. So how do people find out about you? What's your website?
Jewish National Fund, so jnf.org, and you'll get right to us.
Wonderful. Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. All right, everybody, I'm going to take your calls when we get back. 1-8-PRAGER-776. And how many of you knew how much you could earn on an investment in a banana? You never know. You never know. We'll be back in a moment. In Israel, Dennis Prager.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Relief Factor Pain-Free Studio.